Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
people who've attended multiple weddings for the same person, i.e., they got divorced and remarried to someone else. What differences did you notice between the two weddings? My sister has been married 4 times. First wedding was right out of high school sweetheart deal, kind of an off-the-cuff event for 2 dumb teenagers before her new husband went off to become a Navy SEAL. Second wedding several years later was a shotgun deal, hippie vibes, at a cabin in the woods, with my 6-month-old niece playing the part of her parents' flower girl. Third wedding was this massive, over-the-top lakeside country club shindig, like she was trying to prove a point. I barely remember it aside from being exhausted and astounded by the price tag. And the fourth wedding. I wouldn't know, they eloped and didn't invite anyone from our side of the family. Lol. I guess fourth time is the charm though, because they're still together. Thank God, as a woman who hasn't been able to marry once. How? ? You could be married within a month if you wanted to. There are plenty of men out there desperate for companionship and will gladly have you, but your standards need to low and you need to not care if you're compatible or if the marriage will actually last. I have an aunt who has been married 7 times. When she called mom to invite her to number 5, mom said, "No thanks. I'll catch the next one." I think they didn't speak for the duration of that marriage. My aunt is a little out there. Jesus, when did she find time to find the guys, to plan a wedding, to get married, to get divorced? Seems like a lot of work. Gotta be efficient with her time, find the next guy while still married to the current one, cuts out a lot of downtime. I ask my friend whose sister was married 7 times as well, if she ever puts on all her rings and looks in the mirror and says, "I pity the fool." Wedding number 1, I was friends with both the bride and groom. The wedding was very fancy and elaborate. The ceremony was at the Venetian in Vegas. We spent several days there doing wedding festivities and activities with family and friends. I was in the bridal party. The bride's dress was a bejeweled ball gown, hair and makeup were done at the hotel spa, professional photographer booked for the day, the works. The reception and dinner were at a fancy Italian restaurant and we traveled there in a limo. They got annulled 3 months later. Wedding number 2, same groom, different bride. The ceremony and reception were at a community center. All of the decorations were homemade. The bride's dress was a simple strapless dress. She wore her hair back and no makeup. The food was catered by a local Chinese restaurant and we were encouraged to take home leftovers in a Ziploc baggie. They just celebrated their 15th anniversary. Holy hell, in all my time spent thinking of the stuff I would want to see at a wedding, catered by a local Chinese place didn't ever occur to me and now I need to experience it. I bet that was delicious. Hands down, it was the best wedding food I've ever had, so much better than lukewarm prime rib and mashed potatoes from the buffet table that is usually served at weddings. Second place would be the taco truck at another friend's wedding. My cousin's first wedding was a massive blowout at a fancy winery, with an open bar, fancy catering, tons of flowers, the works. He's a blue-collar worker and went into debt to pay for it because the bride and her family insisted, despite not being particularly wealthy themselves. Surprise, she always wanted to live outside their means, and didn't think she had to contribute financially. Lasted about 2 years. His second wedding was at his hometown church. A friend officiated the 20-minute ceremony, and bride and groom wore thrifted outfits. His new wife's family cooked all the food for the reception in their backyard, and the 2 of them have been going strong for over 2 decades now. I always really enjoy the smaller weddings, less spent on drapings and more invested into the experience. All you need is good food, good people, and love. Big weddings with that vibe are great too. In my experience, the best weddings come from couples that care more about the guests' experiences than their own. I've been to large, expensive weddings that rocked, just as much as some that sucked. And I've been to small, cheap weddings that rocked, just as much as some that sucked. What always makes the difference is how much care the couple and their family put into making the experience nice for everyone. Lot of people view weddings as the couple's day, to each their own, but I can't view any gathering that way. Thankfully my wife is on the same page, we're always thinking of our guests first. Everyone's experience matters. My brother married twice, did the traditional church wedding the first time and then a laid-back winery one for the second, which actually probably cost a bit more, but was totally worth it and fun. He did have the same best man for both. "It's good to see you all again," opening line was an absolute hit, ha ha ha. Similar experience. Attended one where best man opened with, "Welcome back, class. If you see new faces, these are our new students. If you see your friends from last time, you're all repeating this class." Guy had the room howling. Legendary line. I can actually give context with my own wedding, lol. Years into my second, excellent, marriage, I was sorting through old photos. I wanted to make sure I had some photos from my first marriage for my kids, if they ever wanted them. I stumbled across the picture of my dad walking me down the aisle. The look on his face can only be described as death march unhappiness. I didn't learn till years later when I finally left my emotionally abusive ex that they disliked him from the start. Curious, I pulled out the wedding album from my second wedding, a beautiful but chill backyard affair at our big country farm. The look on my dad's face while walking me down the aisle at that wedding is best described as woohoo. This is awesome. The things we only see in hindsight. Rolling on the floor laughing. After few years after my divorce I was cleaning out and I went through my wedding album to see if I had some good pics of me to keep. I looked totally freaked out in all of them and my friends look unhappy too. I remember expressing doubts but was told it was normal to have jitters. I want to go back and shake my younger self. We have a picture of my dad's parents on their wedding day in the 40s, in which my grandfather looks completely freaked out. But not to worry, it had nothing to do with the wedding or my grandmother. His orders to deploy to Europe had arrived that day. Not to worry, he came home fine. I believe he was a clerk in the quartermaster's office. Or however that would be phrased. Not on the front lines, anyway. But still, what a way to ruin his wedding day. He probably didn't remember any of it. My sister. Marriage 1, normal guy, doctor, simple wedding. Marriage 2, billionaire, huge wedding. 2 state governors attended. Marriage 3, gun nut. Later divorced, remarried, shot new wife, kid, himself. Marriage 4, looks like it will be a normal guy again. Edit 3, a different normal guy from number 1. I'm expecting a pretty minimal wedding. For those who have asked, I'm probably not perfect on these durations, but marriage 1 lasted about 3 years, marriage 2, less than a year, marriage 3, about 10 years. She didn't bounce from marriage to marriage immediately, so she is in her 60s now. I expect 4 will be her last marriage. Edit 2, now I feel like I should do an armor about this. This just kept taking turns. What a wild ride, tears of joy. Looks like she dodged a bullet with number 3. Literally. She was wise to rid herself of a man of that caliber. My sister, same thing. 4 marriages, nothing really interesting about the first 3. I believe she liked the getting married part, not so much the staying married. Her marriages weren't particularly short, a minimum of 5 years each. Marriage number 4 is the keeper it seems. She is also in her 60s. She is happy, he is nice. Generally speaking, she has sort of consolidated, in her mind, her previous marriages into one. I've been married before, descriptor. I respect that. Why did she leave each of them, if she has shared? I'm so curious. First one she found dull, the rest of the family really liked this one. The billionaire is a really long story, but boiling it down, all that money made him a really shitty person. Number 3 became violent, there were police and restraining orders involved. Not even remotely surprised he shot his next wife. My sister's first wedding, church, wedding dress and tuxes, bridesmaids and groomsmen, all that jazz. Second wedding, bride, groom, 2 witnesses, me and her best friend. Third wedding, small event with about 40 people tops, the feeling of love in the room was palpable. Best wedding I've ever been to. My cousin had her first wedding at an exclusive yacht club in Greenwich Court. There were over 500 guests, black tie formal, 3 bands, 4 massive tents, and an incredible fireworks extravaganza at the end of the night. Cost around $500,000. Marriage lasted less than 5 years. Her second wedding was a barbecue in the backyard, 60 guests, pool attire, hot dogs and burgers. That wedding was over 15 years ago and they seemed to be really happy. WTF, $500,000. Like, $500,000. That is freaking surreal. Were they rich? Super rich. My uncle retired at 42. Her dress alone was $100,000. Pretty safe to say they were rich, tears of joy. My first marriage was a low-budget church affair. Lasted 5 years. No kids, thankfully. I got married a second time. We got married at the courthouse on our way to her family reunion, with only our eldest, not mine by blood, but he is my kid, darn it, in attendance. My wife was not married previously. We celebrate anniversary number 17 this past Thursday. Added 2 more boys to the family early on, too. You're a wonderful person to say that about your eldest. Bride's side. 1. Pompa Magna. Whole day of festivities. Their divorce included how the expenses of the marriage had to paid off. 2. City Hall. 60 people or less. Till married 8 years later. My guess is that she was in love with love, barely any experience outside the school, university route. They were not ready for adulthood, let alone marriage. My cousin has been married 4 times. I love her, but it got exhausting. The first one we took very seriously. The second one we treated more like a family party, get together. The third one we all got absolutely hammered on champagne. They left disposable cameras on the tables for people to capture special moments that they'd later develop and put into a wedding scrapbook. My wife and some other cousins and I took the cameras into the bathrooms and took pictures of each other's asses. I don't even remember the fourth one. I think they must have gone to the courthouse. See, third one is why I don't like the disposable camera idea. My mom did that at her second wedding, and my cousin, who was a married adult, took pictures of her nose and such. I had those at my wedding and none of the pictures were problematic. Lot of wiener pics on those. Once I was a guest, next time I was the groom. Please share additional details. Signed, Random Nosy on the internet. My now wife was first married at our church. I didn't really know, and she didn't attend, but my family was friends with her family and it is a big wedding with the whole church was invited. One of her brothers was my roommate in college and the other was my roommate when I first bought a house after coming home from the army. Fast forward 12 years or so after her first marriage, and I had gone to college then the army and am now back home going to church again. She is divorced and starts coming to church with her parents. Our families would go to lunch together after church and then I asked her out and we were married about 18 months later. I joke I first saw her at her first wedding day, but I think I actually met her once before that at her parents' house, but she was a few years older than me so she had moved out already when our families become close. My husband has the same story. He was the guest book attendant at my first wedding. We had a photo guest book so he was tasked with taking the photos. First wedding lasted 3 years, second one 15 years and still going strong. Sometimes we have two choices and we chose poorly.